Well, hello. Today I want to just dive right in to a conversation I've thankfully seen floating around as the tipping point's happening and the tables are turning and the tides are turning and the conversation is going towards things like coercion versus consent or generosity versus cheapness and how men have become very withholding in their affection, their praise, their compliments, gifts, time, energy, affection, respect. Like they just don't do it. And I think some of that is shut down, and some of that is mommy issues, and some of that is they got burned by an ex, and some of that is like fear of looking like they're love bombing or a simp or something. So I just want to reiterate something I've said over and over again, but I'm really with it today. I grew up around generous men. I grew up with a father who would take all the neighborhood kids out bowling or for pizza or roller skating or to the beach. I grew up with a friend whose dad was a lawyer, and so he had some means and more than we did. And they had a cute little beach house, a cottage, it was a proper house on the Cape Cod. We'd go there, and Mr. Joyce would have like lobsters and steaks and corn on the cob and potato salad and cakes and just like wine coolers when we were of age and beer and like you were never hungry or thirsty at this guy's house, or he was quite a host and quite generous and quite thoughtful and considerate, and he'd just be manning the grill and sweating the whole time, and we'd go off to the beach and sit there, and under an umbrella and dip in and out of the water, and we were treated like queens when we were teens. And again, this is kind of middle class, upper middle class. Like we were lower middle class if you want to go income based. But my dad was great about finding things for us to do, like, oh, we're gonna go to the Greek festival today, or we're gonna go to this indie film, or we're going to the beach and a restaurant after. Like they planned these things. They planned ahead. They went shopping for these things. They, you know, put the time and the energy into making sure it was a lovely experience for everyone involved. I just don't feel like men do that anymore. Like even on dates, they just don't have initiative or follow through or planning skills. And then sometimes if they have something super planned out, you wonder, are they a control freak? So I know right now men can't win. They're having a bad moment, but at the same time, it's a long overdue karmic reckoning. And it is karma. And it is a mental health crisis. And it is an epidemic of shittiness, not loneliness. That's the consequences of the shittiness. So I just think if a guy is cheap, and I saw someone talking about this was like an older European lady with a cool accent. So she's saying, if a man is cheap with you, he with money, he will be cheap with his time and his energy and his skills as a lover and his ability to see you because he cannot give. And then I saw another thing where it was like this woman was saying, hey, can I have some water? And someone off camera hands her, like a puzzle. Oh no, that sounds fun for later, but I'm thirsty now. Can I have some water? And then he hands her, some handcuffs, fluffy handcuffs. Like, okay, again, that sounds fun for later. I'm thirsty now. Can I have some water? And he hands her, some lingerie or something. I mean, I might be, adding my own little embellishments here. I tend to do that sometimes. I'm an author and creative and a writer and a mystic, and I have been known to get in my imagination and flourish and embellish things a bit, as I've been accused of, which is really just not going along with the party line or the, baked narrative that I don't feel right about. So is it embellishment or is it just raw truth and people can't process it so it seems embellished? I don't know, maybe a combination. But anyway, I'm taking poetic license. There's a better term. So he's handing her all these things that he wants to give her, that he thinks will make him look cool in some way, or sexy, or fun, or even kind of flashy, but not real generosity, which considers someone's basic needs, like have you eaten? Are you warm enough? Are you cool enough if it's really hot out? Can I put this jacket over your shoulders if we're, going to go walking for at night? Can I pull out your chairs, open your doors, whatever? And then I know chivalry has been accused of being murdered by feminism. I don't buy it. I think that's a cop out. Because we can be feminists and want human equal rights for women and protections for women and children and safety for women and children, which really is at the core what feminism should be. And still like enjoy being treated well, and considered and not, like made fun of, like at the one of the lowest points of my poverty situation with being backed into a corner by Illuminati shitheads. I said, well, I guess I can only really afford ramen right now. Well, don't you know, like pops up a fashion show with ramen. Everybody's wearing ramen. And I thought, this is diabolically sick. How much money did you put into that you could have made sure I had healthy groceries? Or travel. Like I would say I'd love to go to the beach. Then you're off on a yacht with a bikini babe. Like, so, I mean, the nastiness of it, the pettiness of it, the shittiness of it, the mean girl frat boy, disgusting, pretentious snottiness of it got to me, right? Because I thought, well, okay, everybody works for what they get, or you don't work, or you work really hard and you get nothing, and you don't work at all and you get everything. We know we're in an inverted, perverted, upside down, inside out, round and round kind of realm. We understand that, that the most wicked seem to be the most rewarded, but that's financially, right? And so coming back to what true generosity means to me, I've talked about how narcissists and Satanists and the cult will try to go out of their way to ruin your birthday. That's just a thing they do. That's something that they delight in because, yeah, it's a day about you and they can't handle it. Their ego can't take it. So they have to come up with pranks and distractions and cruelty, or they'll half-ass it and pretend they're making a playlist or hold a pink balloon, but they can't actually acknowledge you exist or say happy birthday or have another great year around the sun. They can't. So, and yet they can, be splashy and flashy on their own birthdays. So it's wild to see what men have become. And again, I have to keep remembering in my own mind that I don't see these as men. I do not. I don't even see them as broken little boys anymore. I see them now oftentimes as women who are pretending to be men. And that is not shitting on women. When I say that, I mean biological females who pretend to be biological males and vice versa. And it goes on. And that's a whole other rabbit hole I've, talked about. But I don't really need to weave it into this one. This rant is more about the cheapness versus the generosity. Like complaining about money when you have more than everyone around you is disgusting. Not making sure the people in your domain, but also in the world at large, are fed, clothed, safe, housed, taken care of, and not because you're, trying to play benefactor or big shot, but because you actually fucking care, right? You care about the well-being and safety of humanity. And if you don't, and then you get, weirded out by those of us who are very passionate about it, and you get cavalier and cruel and casual and say, well, why do you care so much? That right there is such gaslighting and so crazy making and so fucking vile. I have no tolerance for that. None. Zero. So, yeah, I think cheapness is a sign. It's a huge red flag because it's a sign they don't know how to share. If you can't share your fries, you can't share your heart or your life with someone. If you can't share your finances with someone, you have to have like prenups and, you know, agreements and clauses and non-disclosure things and everything because you're afraid the world will see how fucking cheap you are, in every sense of that word, and how dishonest and deceptive and disgusting you are. Like that's not a problem of like me or any woman or child alive to lick your ego into, out of its wounds and into its wholeness. That's your job. That is absolutely every man's job on the planet, to go get healed and become a better man, to become sober, to become faithful, to become real, I remember there was the manosphere and the Tate shit, right? And even Jordan Peterson, pretended like he was everybody's, wise uncle. That's a female, in my opinion. married to a male pretending to be a female. So everything else you say to me is moot. If you lie about your gender and then you go proselytizing or preaching to the world about fucking anything, I don't want to hear it. I don't. You're cheap because you can't be honest. You can't be honest with yourself or the world and your spiritual ramen. You know, I know there's good ramen. Don't It's not about ramen, right? This is not about the ramen. It's what it stands for. When you are so low, so poor and broke and sick and hurting and scared, and someone puts on a fashion show with ramen to mock you, like that's a whole new level of sadism and evil. And I think of Mr. Joyce manning that grill, dripping in sweat, red faced. Girls, you want another hot dog, another cheeseburger? Did you get enough? You need another cold beer? Here, have a wine cooler. And then making sure the bedding in the house was nice. That was Mrs. Joyce. Like the house was a haven. It was a welcoming respite away from the rest of the world. And it wasn't just because, hey, beach house, cool, fancy. It was the love in that house. The generosity of the love and the care, and that you were welcomed and you were treated as the special guest. Like we should all be that way with each other. And there should be no tent cities. There should be no homelessness. Nobody on a planet this abundant should ever go cold or hungry. And I don't give a fuck about a ballroom when there are children being trafficked and raped 20 times a day. Those should be priorities to deal with. If you're not dealing with that, you're not a leader. You're a clown, you're a buffoon, you're a fool, and you're a puppet. And I have no use for you. And I don't care who you are, how much money you have, how many titles you have. If you don't have a decent, generous, kind human heart, and I mean, yeah, I have all those things, and I have a mouth, by the way, because I push back on the lies and the nonsense and the cruelty and the stupidity, and yes, the pretension and the snobbery of these idiots who've never really lived a life. They've been in a cage their whole life. And so they act out and they're rebellious teenage brats, even in their 80s. And they never went through puberty, and it shows. It just shows. They're children, but broken children. It's an insult to children. They are so undeveloped in their consciousness. And again, just the pettiness and the you know the insecurity and the cockiness to overcompensate. It's cheap. There's no other word for it than cheap. But what is generous, what is kind, what is honest, and what is good and what is true is also sometimes going to look bitchy and unforgiving and lacking compassion, because at that breaking point, you've been through so much at the hands of so many, you don't give a fuck anymore. You don't care. You don't care what they call you. You have become immune and you become unbotherable and unfuckwithable because you know they're just liars and they can't face the truth, they can't face themselves, and they can't face you. So why would anyone ever want to fear that? And who could ever love that, right? So don't be cheap. Tip your servers well. Tip maids and housekeepers and gardeners well. Be keep your money moving, and money wants to move whether you have no resources, like this awesome story I heard about this guy in the Gulf, and he and his friend didn't know when the next food supply truck was coming, because yes, they treat our military terribly. Just look at the Abraham Lincoln situation. It's a shit show and it's a disgrace and it's disgusting, and those people should rebel and they should have a mutiny and they should all fucking resign, because you're in a company and an organization and working for a country that does not regard your basic humanity and your basic needs. You should not be serving at that altar. You should break whatever vows you took, whatever oaths you took, and you should take care of yourself and your family. That's what you should do. Retire your uniform, hang it up. Your mental health and your peace and your life and your livelihood should not depend on such cheapness and such pettiness. You deserve better. So I want to tell every military person anywhere: don't be a pawn. Don't be a puppet. Don't be their sacrifice. Get out and get on with your life. Even if you have to be court-martialed, even if you have to have dishonorable discharge, get the fuck out. You're fighting for the wrong side and for the wrong things, even if you had the right reasons or the right intentions. So yeah, the cheapness, the pettiness, the cruelty, the sadism, that's Satanism. That's Luciferianism. That's loser time is what it is, right? They act like they're winners and they're victorious and they're top dogs and give me the underdog over the top dog any day, because the top dog is someone who is so terrified to be exposed for who they really are and what they've really done or what they haven't done when they should have stepped up. That's their fear. It's not something for you to go into, and it's not something to water or feed. It's something to acknowledge and then, yeah, swerve it and ignore it, like they always swerve and ignore problems that they created. So there's my rant for today. I was thinking of Mr. Joyce. He's over on the other side, and I want to thank him. I thought there were other men out there like that, generous, kind, who cared about, your safety, your well-being, your happiness, your basic needs. And I've come to realize, unfortunately, the men I grew up around, maybe they don't exist anymore. And we always want to say, well, the women don't exist who were, taking care of everything. And that's a good thing, right? And no, I don't think a man should be seen as an ATM or a wallet or a means to an end or a financial, security or a roof over your head. Well, you can provide those things for yourself as much as you can and the best of your ability and with the resources you do have access to. But for men who have millions or billions or trillions of dollars and neglect their own children, for example, or who, will buy someone a guitar or a scooter because they want to get in their pants, but they watch this other person and they know she just wants to have a best-selling book, and then they go and like somebody else's book when they don't even fucking read. So they do this shit to make you feel jealous, to make you feel less than. It's petty, it's cringy, it's awful, and it makes you pity them because of their tactics are so desperate and so, yeah, pitiful and pathetic and cruel. And negging a woman is not how you relate to women. That's whoever taught you treat them mean, keep them keen. That was an idiot. That was an idiot. You're following idiot's advice with that. It doesn't work on women who actually love ourselves, who have self-regard, who have, any kind of self-awareness, or who did grow up around people who treated us right. Why would we go backwards? Why would we settle for less than we were, shown we deserved? People would say, believe in yourself, know your worth. I always fucking did. And I don't mean that in a cocky, arrogant, prideful way. I mean, it's just an inherent self-dignity that was role modeled to me of take care of yourself, and love yourself and do the best you can. Did I have moments where I fell down on that? Absolutely. Was it always in place? No. But it is, it should be inherent to know how to treat people with respect and yourself with respect. I do not respect liars. I will never respect pedophiles. I do not respect coercive control, manipulative tactics. I'll never respect Darvo. I don't respect hive mind or cult or vows of silence. I don't respect any of that. So when people say show some respect, I'm like, okay, you first. And cheapness, yeah, it is a trigger for me. It's a button. And now I just see it as, wow, how sad they live that way. How sad to be that cheap and that petty. And then you have to go and do splashy, flashy, waste of time, energy, and money things to look like you have status. I mean, there are no words. We have no words for that on this side of the train tracks, right? I would absolutely rather be on the Molly Ringwald poor kids, 16 candles side of the train tracks. I might be mixing my movies right now. But anyway, she always played that kind of ragamuffin, feisty, manic pixie dream girl, and that's a guy anyway, but we won't get into that. So the lies are never ending. The cheapness is never ending. The generosity is elusive. The connectivity and ability to hold space or be in conflict and come out the other side is non-existent. So how do you expect people who have even a modicum of dignity and self-respect to respect you when you've played these games this long, been this petty, this cheap, this stunted, and this wrong? Don't expect that. You don't offer it, and you don't give it, and you don't get it. Okay, so there it is. And the people I respect people who work at soup kitchens or not performatively, but who actually do that kind of thing or volunteer at food banks, rescue, stuff. Not going to a rubber chicken dinner and writing a big check, but actually in the trenches and on the front lines. Those are the people I respect. And also the hardworking dad at the grill who wants to feed his family and create nice memories for them. or who looks for parking at the beach and drops you off there, or puts an umbrella over you when it's raining, or, lets you sleep in because they know you had a rough night. Not lets you, but it's quiet and respectful. There are a million ways someone can be generous, and if they can't even acknowledge your existence, that's the ultimate cheapness. And I do not play, and I will not look away or pretend it isn't happening or stay silent on any of that kind of stuff, because that's what we have right now. We have on the macro level, we have cheapness of doling out information when we should have access to that. They work for us. We pay their salary. Okay. So they should be fired and replaced with people who are competent and not corrupt. That's what should happen. If we're going to have hierarchy, infrastructure, and leadership, it needs to be someone with actual fucking generosity of heart, of spirit, of mind, of soul. And it ain't the elites, because they're the cheapest motherfuckers going. And there it is.